All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. We're gonna be going over the career of the immortal Hulk Hogan. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, man. I'm really excited on this one because
So,
as a child, in the childhood, this was the man.
this was the guy, man. This is the guy.
Besides Savage and Warrior, this was one of my ultimate favorites growing up. He's the reason why I started watching wrestling.
Yeah, same here.
Oh
Same
my
here.
God.
The Babe Ruth of professional wrestling.
Exactly. The biggest in the sport and doesn't have a record to show for it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But the best in the business. Mount Rushmore, definitely.
All right. So Hogan, man, Hogan was he's like in a rock band, right? Early on in his career, he was.
Yeah.
I think he used to play bass.
Yeah.
I think then he started wrestling, and I forgot who was it that broke his leg. Do you remember? Supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, it's a famous story that Hogan, during one of his first training sessions, I think Hiro Matsuda trained him and broke his leg because I think he wasn't selling right or something like that. I don't know.
Like I said, there's a lot of stories out there that, I mean, take it for number one, who's selling you it, and you be the judge of it, because I've got one in here that's just a doozy from the Iron Sheik. Everybody I'm sure knows that one, but we'll get into.
Yeah, but so Hogan eventually makes his way wrestling he was from Tampa, and he started wrestling down in Florida. So Hogan was down in Memphis for a while. That's where he kind of made a name for himself. I think it was during that time that he went on a talk show, and Lou Ferrigno happened to be on the talk show too. And I guess the guy who was doing the talk show made a comment to him that he was actually bigger than the Hulk, because at the time he was, Lou Ferrigno was the Incredible Hulk on TV.
Yeah.
He was known. That was the role that he was known for, besides the bodybuilding. And then later on, he actually gets called the Incredible Hulk, and then there's a whole big thing with the rights but
with Marvel and stuff.
We'll get later on down the road. I know he was also known as one of the Boulder brothers with Beefcake.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Beefcake were like best friends from way back. I think they might have ran a gym together too. I think Hogan owned a gym. I think, and I think Beefcake helped him run the gym too.
Yeah, but when he after all that, he got he's in WWE. He's kind of.
But what was it back then? Was it the
WWF, Worldwide Wrestling
right?
Federation? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Vince Senior was running it.
Vince Senior is at this time running it, and Hogan's a mid carder, not a main eventer. He had a couple of.
He was named Hogan, but this is the rumor. We don't know I don't know if it's actually ever been confirmed, but Vince Senior wanted him to have an Irish name.
Yeah.
So he named him Hogan, I guess, for the Irish people. I guess because San Martino
was Italian.
Yeah, I guess they won.
And for years, San Martino was on top.
Right, I guess.
But his first run at this point, I mean, the highlight match that he had pretty much, it was in 1980, obviously at Shea Stadium, the famous match he had with
the match that never happened.
Yeah. So I mean, other than that, when he started in WWE, the WWF at this point, let me just say it that way. His first match was against Tito Santana, and then he feuded with and I can't believe I'm saying this, a babyface Ted DiBiase, a clean-shaven Ted DiBiase, who had just came off of, they had that North American Championship, that event that just poof went away and became the Intercontinental title in a tournament that never happened. So, I mean, he wasn't really one of the big top guys for him. And it came up that he wanted to be part of, he had the opportunity to be in Rocky 3.
But real quick, before we get to Rocky 3, Blassie, I think Blassie was his,
yes,
Freddie
Blassie was his manager.
And he was a heel.
Yeah.
He was a heel at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as, eventually he becomes NWO heel, but I mean, he didn't do half bad. What's
funny? If you watch early Hogan, you could tell he's from Florida. Some of the verbiage that he was using. Yeah, and he was saying "daddy," and it morphs, it changes as he goes into what we know, Hulkamania. Yeah, you could tell. It's interesting.
Yeah, this is before he became what everybody grew to love.
I don't think it was much brother. I remember him saying "daddy."
Yeah. It wasn't. There was no brothers and brother. None of that. Yeah. Hogan actually quoted Vince McMahon Sr. when it came time for the movie. The quote goes, "You can't do this. You work for me. You're a wrestler, not an actor.
Right.
If you leave to do this Rocky movie, you'll never work for this company again." I said, Hogan replied, "Well, I guess I'll never work here again," and I left. A few days later, Sylvester Stallone flew him out to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes ahead and does the movie Thunder Lips and everything. He did a pretty good job at it.
A great job.
Oh yeah,
Great job.
You and I are huge fans of the Rocky series, so
he pulled it off as the heel. He did a tremendous job.
I love in the movie. I don't want to get sidetracked real quick, but I love when Stallone, they're sitting in the ring and Balboa says, "I wonder how much he eats," and Mickey goes, "About 202 pounds."
Yeah,
and he goes,
weighing
in at 202 pounds.
And he looks at him. Yeah, I also like the part when he's like, "Hey, you want to take a picture or whatever?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." He's like, "Hey, He says something. Why'd you get so nuts on me or something? He's like, "That's the name of the game." So he was in kayfabe and then he broke kayfabe. So that was pretty cool.
And I love in the beginning. He's like, "All right, how we want to do this? Little thing." Yeah. And then he's getting thrown over. Cut off my gloves.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was good.
So after purchasing the company from his father in 1982. Vince Jr. had plans to expand the territory into well, actually, before I get to this, because I'm forgetting a whole different thing. After he did the movie, he signed with AWA and had a brief run there where he did have a world. He fought Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA title. Had a nice little run there. The way he left AWA, Nick Bockwinkel tells it one way, Hogan tells it another, and then supposedly, and I'll get to that in a little later, that there was supposedly a bounty put on him for what he did in there, and then turned to find out that Greg Gagne said it was all full of crap. Later on.
Gagne's not gonna, if he put a bounty on him, he's not gonna admit it. So this, right? Think about it. But he left supposedly because it was a problem with the merchandising. He said AWA was really bad at merchandising.
Yeah.
So he was like, Hogan was taking it upon himself, was making his own shirts. I think AWA then turns around, makes shirts of Hulk Hogan without him knowing. I think Hogan was going to Japan too. He was like kind of going back and forth. And they weren't giving him a cut of the money of the merchandising. And so that's what led to the fallout, supposedly.
Yeah.
And ultimately leads to him making a deal with Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Like I was saying before, he purchased the company from his father in 1982.
And he had a whole different mentality. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
His father was very old school in his way of thinking, which is why he fired Hogan. Yeah. Because he felt like, not thinking like, if he does this movie, that's more publicity for us.
Exactly. And his son, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, saw him as this is a guy that for years now, I can promote him and make this company larger than life. Sports
entertainment.
Exactly.
He was
also crush the other territories.
Well, yeah.
Which is what Vince always wanted to do.
They were making and we'll get into it in a second. They were making the transition from Bob Backlund.
Yeah. Which was messed up on Backlund, but whatever.
It is what it is.
Exactly. He wanted to expand the territory to a nationwide promotion, and he handpicked Hogan to be the company's showpiece attraction. He made his return to television taping for WWF, whatever at the time, in St. Louis, Missouri on December 27th, 1983, defeating Bill Dixon.
Yeah, I think they don't. Back. Yeah, I think they don't actually air it till January 1st, I believe. It's not actually aired, but that was the actual date. Was December. He actually debuted as the Incredible Hulk Hogan. But then the thing with Marvel happens, where they cut that deal. Do you remember what it was? Was it like 0.9? I forget the numbers.
In 1984, the similarities between Hogan's character and the Incredible Hulk led to a quick claim deal between Titan Sports, Marvel Comics, and himself, where Marvel obtained the trademark Hulk Hogan, Hulkster, and Hulkamania for 20 years, and Titan agreed to no longer refer to him as the Incredible or Hulk. So Marvel also received 0.9% of gross merchandise revenue associated with Hogan. They got $100 for each of his matches.
Think about it, that's a lot of money.
It is. And 10%.
We're talking about the 80s too.
Yeah, where you're wrestling nonstop.
Right, but not only that, think about $100 like in like
40 years ago was a lot.
Right. Yeah, it adds up.
And not only that, 10% of Titan's portion of his other earnings.
It's crazy. What a deal they struck, man.
Woof. I
Marvel
think
made off like bandits.
exactly.
You know, and I always wondered because they used to, I remember playing like the video games and stuff, and like it would say on the screen, it would say Hulkmania, whatever, is a registered trademark of Marvel Comics. And as a kid, I used to read Marvel Comics, and I was always wondering, I was like, was he? I knew who the Incredible Hulk was, obviously,
Yeah.
but I didn't put the two and two together, like that. It's because they sued them because of the name. Like I wasn't able to deduce that being a child.
Yeah.
So I was like, was Hulk Hogan a comic book character too? And like, did they make the character? I was very confused as a kid.
And what's funny is, speaking of the comic books, you remember in 1988, Marvel comic presented at number 45 a wrestler resembling Hogan, who was tossed through an arena roof by the Incredible Hulk because, and I quote, he picked the wrong name. So, yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, Marvel made out like bandits.
Bandits, man. One. They still end up going. Not to get sidetracked, they still end up going bankrupt in like the late '90s, but they made some money on WWE or WWF
exactly.
At the time, for sure.
Now, here's where 1984 gets interesting with the whole Hogan, Backlund, Iron Sheik drama, as I will put it. On January 7th, 1984 episode of Championship Wrestling, Hogan saved Backlund from an assault by the Wild Samoans, thus confirming his fan favorite status. This is where he was turning over, but Backlund didn't believe it. Backlund explained that Hogan changed his ways, even though he wasn't selling it, and he wouldn't have Blassie around anymore. The storyline shortcut was necessary because less than 3 weeks later, the infamous day, January 23rd, 1984, Hogan won his first WWE, WWF, WWF, whatever. Getting confused.
WWF at the time.
There you go. Pinning Iron Sheik at the Madison Square Garden.
But we got to even rewind a little bit. Just the fact that they already had the plan. Vince McMahon had the plan. I'm going to take the belt off of Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund's had the title for how long already?
5 years.
He's getting older. We're going to make the transition. I want to go into Hulk Hogan, the big guys. You know, so he wasn't going to have Hulk Hogan beat Bob Backlund, babyface.
Babyface, yeah.
So Iron Sheik was just a transitional champion. He beat him in that famous match where
he never submitted. That's Arnold threw the towel in.
He was in the camel clutch. He didn't submit.
Yeah.
Arnold throws the towel. Teamed up. Then Hogan teamed up with What was that after when Hogan teams up with Backlund?
That was after.
I forgot they have a tag match. But I think he only wrestles like 3 times before he gets the title.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, very quick.
Yeah, right away.
That he came back.
Yeah. The day that Hulkamania was born.
So, yeah, they said that this storyline and victory was a last-minute replacement for the Sheik's original opponent, Bob Backlund. Backlund was supposed to have the rematch at Madison Square Garden, and they pulled him out. And he became champion by being the first man to escape the camel clutch, which I always thought was awesome, how he got out of that and then just quickly beat him. This was a fast match, too.
It was.
It was almost literally a squash match on Sheik. Now, Backlund, this is where it gets funny, was quoted as saying to Vince, "I don't think anybody should win the title that's not a real athlete." And Vince Sr. now gets into the mix. I love this part. This is where it's like total soap opera here. Vince Sr. wanted to hold off on the title switch and wait 6 months. Hogan explained that this was not the deal that he signed up for, and that Hogan had burned bridges in AWA, which we all know, was back and forth. But if the deal wasn't going to happen, that he'd make his leave and go mend those bridges and go back to AWA if the championship wasn't going to be put on him right away. Vince Jr. now then steps in and smoothed everything out. Hogan also mentioned that Vern Gagne tried to bribe the Iron Sheik to break his leg. Sheik was promised $100,000 if he did it, but never did. Now, this is where Greg Gagne came out later on and said that this was all fabricated. And
like I said,
but this was a fabrication by Iron Sheik.
Yeah, Iron Sheik.
He still tells the story even to this day because even Greg Gagne was quoted as saying, "If you say it enough times, you're going to start believing it."
It's possible Sheik was lying because Sheik went to Vince.
I believe it was. I
think Sheik might have lied just to get more money out of Vince. Like, oh, hey, look, I'm loyal to you. I'm not going to do anything. Thank you for the information. Now here's a raise. Maybe that's why he loves Sheik so much and he kept bringing him back.
Yeah. I mean, because he did. I mean, he not only squashed him at the Garden, but he kept using him for several years to come. And then, like you said, he brought him back later on for a gimmick. So I don't know, man.
But that's the story. It's worth
40 years ago, man. Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's possible. Listen, to be fair, back then it was very treacherous. Like that business was very
cutthroat.
Yeah. So it's possible.
And of course, you got the whole thing now with Backlund is griping about he's not an athlete.
No, he was salty.
He was salty. Vince Senior still had his issues because he didn't like the guy. Now his son brings him back, and he's trying to hold him off. And Hogan's like, "Wait a minute, that's not part of my contract. We got what we got."
Yeah, look, Vince was clearly right.
He was, regardless of everybody else's input on it. Immediately after the title win, and I love this, Gorilla Monsoon proclaimed Hulkamania is here. Yeah. He introduced his 3 commandments at this point now: the training, saying the prayers, and eating your vitamins.
Yeah. You remember that big celebration though after the match with Andre? Andre had the champagne.
Yes, with the champagne. And, if anything, and I guess Andre never wanted the title back then, and it's a shame because I think he would have been an excellent champion.
Yeah, but Andre was an attraction. Didn't need the belt.
Yeah, but I would have loved to see it on him at some point back then.
He did. He did win the title.
Yeah, well.
I know what you're saying, though. It would have been nice for him to have a little run. But I guess, it was an attraction. It was what it was.
And the two of them were good friends at the time, very well respected on each side, which led to later on what they did. But yeah, I like that celebration where he's got, he's throwing all the champagne, and Hogan's like,
it's in his
burning his eyes, and he's trying to, he's trying to.
Thanks, boss, and he was like, he was telling him, thanks, boss.
Oh, he always referred to him as boss.
Yeah. Everyone called
the infamous Saturday Night Main Event. Coming, boss, you got it, boss. Yeah, tell him that in Pontiac Silverdome.
That belt was hideous, though. That green belt
was
terrible.
I liked when they transitioned to the other title that Hogan had.
Yeah,
but then my ultimate favorite was the wing belt.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Still wish they had it to this day. So he had the 3 commandments for years. Obviously, we know that the 4th commandment didn't come around until 1990.
Yeah, it was later.
Believing in oneself.
Yeah.
He also transitioned. Now he was transitioning to the red and yellow.
Yeah, he was American made.
American made, yes.
And then it's funny because later on in WCW he uses the song American Made because they couldn't use Real American.
Exactly.
But at this time he was coming out to Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah, I actually liked that until they came.
It wasn't bad. But Real American is.
Oh, man, you hear that and you're jumping up.
You get fired up.
You start doing the posing and stuff, man. As a kid, man, forget it. And I'm gonna quickly say this, even though when we get to it later down the line, the 1993 title win at WrestleMania 9, I'm gonna honestly tell you, I was jumping up and down, celebrating in my room, watching this, going, "Oh my God, the man is back!" And then later on, when you find everything out, you're going, "That son of a bitch."
Yeah, we'll get there.
It is what it is.
We'll get there.
So over the next year, now Hogan became the face of wrestling. As McMahon pushed the WWE into a pop culture enterprise with the Rockin' Wrestling connection, which I liked it as a kid. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. They were able to cross over to the mainstream. They were on MTV.
Which was the smartest move to make because they were the hottest thing on cable.
They were on all those talk shows.
Yep. On MTV, drawing record house shows, pay-per-view buy rates, and television ratings. I mean, it was just unbelievable the direction he was going in.
You know what I forgot to mention? After he wins the title, he goes over to Japan, I think, for like a couple dates. I guess he had still owed them a couple dates, whatever. Yeah. He actually teamed up with Bret Hart in a tag team match. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. Shame you didn't give him what he deserved later on. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's keep this let's keep this friendly. In any event, heading into 1985, the centerpiece attraction for the first WrestleMania was upon us. March 31st, 1985. Hogan teamed with TV and movie star Mr. T to defeat Piper and Orndorff, and the build-up to this was great. I mean, they pulled it off. I always said Mr. T could have done this and could have been good at it, but he just didn't want to do the work. And Hogan said this too.
I always say he's an actor, man.
I know, but he had the look. He had his mic skills weren't bad. We've seen that on several Saturday Night Main Events that he did, especially when they mentioned the whole Rocky thing when we did the review on that. I think he could have made it on that he didn't want to do what he had to do for us. It's a shame.
Why should he? Why should he, man? He's
know.
just showing up for a paycheck. He's got his 18 gig and whatever else he was doing. It was what it was.
I know.
It got the attention. It got eyeballs on wrestling. That's what mattered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's in that big tag team match,
which we've already said it numerous times that I think it should have been Hogan and Piper.
Yeah,
kicking off the WrestleMania, but
should have been, but for obvious reasons, I know why they had Mr. T involved.
With the whole MTV thing, and TV, I understand it. So Hogan was named the most requested celebrity of the 1980s for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He was featured on Sports Illustrated, TV Guide, People's Magazine. I mean, this was
he was on fire.
The guy, exactly.
Couldn't
say it better.
Yeah. It's a shame he goes on that talk show, man. What was that guy's name?
Oh, Richard Belzer.
Yeah, he went on the talk show, and he's like, I guess Meltzer was like, he was bad. I don't know if he was bad mouthing wrestling or just trolling. I forget.
Probably trolling.
But he's like, oh, let me put you in a headlock or whatever, and he didn't mean Hogan. I don't think Hogan meant to like put him to sleep.
No, I don't think his intentions were to do anything.
No, because Hogan just lets him go. He puts him in the front face lock for a little while. He lets him go, and he just drops him. And then Hogan's like walking over him, like, "Oh, you all right, man?" And then he sued. I don't know what they settled for, but
oh my god! Yeah. And, I mean, Richard Belzer. I mean, they say he's a comedian as well, but I mean, I've watched him on the Law and Order SVU the years that he was on there, and this guy is a putz to me. I don't know. He's never said anything funny. To me, he's like a Jerry Seinfeld. They say he's funny, but you're really not.
They had some bad incidents with media back then, man. Because remember this guy?
Remember the whole Lawler Andy Kaufman thing?
No,
it was around the same time too.
No, but not even that. I'm talking about what happened with this guy backstage, Hogan's boy,
David Schultz.
Remember what happened with David Schultz?
He was supposed to be huge
when he slapped that reporter from I think it was ABC for making fun of wrestling.
Yeah, they did the whole Dark Side thing a season ago, and that pretty much ruined him because he was supposed to be big. Hogan was going to work with him and everything. Oh man,
yeah. WWF ran into some bad incidents, but this wasn't as bad because it wasn't intentional, but.
This is. It seems to be the thing because right now what just popped in my head with the whole media and wrestler thing was the whole thing, especially Vader. With the Kuwaiti reporter. I mean, just when he said that, oh, wrestling can't be that real, and he goes, "Oh, you want me to show you?" And he gets up and he's like about to choke him out. I mean,
you can't do that over there though. That was the problem.
No, you can't. He's lucky he got out of that, but. I mean, I don't understand these reporters. Just are they trying to get their 15 minutes by doing this?
Pretty much.
Whatever. Any event. He also had his own, if you remember, the Saturday morning cartoon on CBS called Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, and I love this.
I used to watch that.
How they had Andre animated, JYD, Hogan, Captain Lou Albano. I mean, it was awesome. It was just truly awesome.
That was great.
So, and then also around this time, they started the Saturday Night Main Events in 1985, which I'm gonna tell you this right now, not including the main events, just the Saturday Night Main Event. Hogan in the 31 or the 30 that he was involved in, and he only missed 3 of them. He didn't wrestle in 3 of them. Of course, one of them he was on hiatus in '92. The end of '92, probably the last one. I think what was that for 14 years? That was they took they stopped doing it.
The fall of '92, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So really, not even counting that 31 that he was gone, he only really missed 2, and he was never pinned on a Saturday Night Main Event. He lost by countout or disqualification, but he was never pinned on a Saturday Night Main Event. I thought that was pretty impressive, and the fact that out of the first 30, he only missed 2 of them. He was on every one of them. He was the highlight. Yeah. Not necessarily the main event match, but he was on the card.
Yep.
Whether it be Battle Royal, he did. One was an interview that he did. He missed number 16 and 27. I don't even remember the dates of those, to be honest. But he was always on them. Mm-hmm. And he was involved in the first one on May 11th, 1985, where he defeated Bob Orton. Number 2, that was the first time he defended the title on October 5th, 1985, where he beat Volkov. And even a month later, he teamed with Andre. That was the one. Come in, boss. You got it, boss. Andre's like, no interviews. Let's go. Get to the ring. I love that one against Bundy and Studd. That was a really good one. So he was really on a roll in 1985, especially on the Saturday night main events. And even at the Wrestling Classic pay-per-view, Hogan defeated Roddy Piper by disqualification after Orton interfered. So not to mention with all that stuff in 1985, let's not even forget the beginning of 85 in February, they had the War to Settle the Score on MTV.
Yeah, that was huge.
Hulk Hogan defeated Roddy Piper once again by disqualification. Honestly, I can't remember if he's ever pinned Piper back then. It was
I don't think
always
in WWF. I don't think he did. I could be wrong.
Count out, disqualification. Yeah. It was always that way between the two of them. So, being as that was in the beginning of '85, that went obviously his feud with they culminated at WrestleMania. Actually, it didn't culminate. They always had their feud at WrestleMania, and then the Saturday night main event. So, overall, 1984 and '85 for Hogan were pretty much a benchmark for what was to come later on. And in our next episode, we'll get into through 1986 his war with the Heenan family, as well as some pretty impressive Saturday night main event opponents and other things that he's done as well. But so far, pretty decent 2 years for him. Then
this was the rise of Hulkamania.
Yes.
All right, so you guys let us know what you think about Hulk Hogan's early career. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.